Eating is universal. Everyone does it, whether you like it or not. It's more the how and what to eat is what makes various cultures different. Our eating habits may seem normal to us, but others will always find some of them pretty strange. And those are what we're going to be looking at in today's video. From the proper way to use a fork in Thailand to a dish that can quite literally kill you, here are some of the strangest food practices in the world. Our first entry is, don't stick a fork in it. Despite what you may think, they don't actually use chopsticks that much in Thailand. Don't ask for chopsticks in this country if you're eating anything other than noodles, which is the only time it's really acceptable. For everything else, Thais prefer using spoons and forks like most of the rest of the world. However, this too comes with a Thai-specific eating etiquette that you might find a little strange. When eating, let's say a bite-sized piece of meat, don't jab it with your fork. Even more importantly, never ever use the fork to stick any piece of food into your mouth. Thais find that extremely rude and improper. Rather, use your fork to gently nudge the piece of food onto your spoon, and then use the spoon to put the food in your mouth. Man, I am really improper then because I am nowhere near that patient. Our next entry is a Kinder Egg with a special surprise. The Philippines is a prime destination for foodies all over the world. Filipinos have a culture that is largely based around food. If there's a reason to celebrate something, I guarantee you food will always find its way into the equation. Furthermore, there are a lot of foods to try, some looking normal while others are downright strange. This falls into the latter category. Balut is a Filipino delicacy that every foreigner should try, but not everyone would have the stomach for it. It's basically a cooked fertilized duck or chicken egg, and much like a Kinder Surprise egg, just grosser, a treat is waiting for you inside once you crack into it. In this case, it's the finger-licking good prize of a cooked duck fetus and its natural juices, complete with beak, feathers, feet, bones, viscera, everything. It doesn't look appetizing, especially when out of the shell, but apparently people really do swear that it's the best thing that they've ever tasted. Well, can't imagine KFC making this. Our next entry is maggoty cheese. Oh, this is just getting great. The most dangerous cheese in the world, casu marzu, is an Italian delicacy defined by its illegal status and the maggots that infest it. Casu marzu comes from the Italian island of Sardinia, located in the Mediterranean Sea. The cheese itself is made from sheep's milk and it takes some time to make. But the process itself is actually pretty easy. When it's finished, a casu marzu cheese should roughly contain thousands and thousands and thousands of maggots. And you're also expected to eat this cheese, alive maggots and all. Okay, yeah, I know what you're thinking. At least kill the maggots first, am I right? Well, no, because Sardinian tradition states that once the maggots are dead, the cheese is no longer safe to eat. As if it's safe to eat in the first place. Don't be a fish flipper. When eating a whole fish and you've already finished eating all the meat on one side, logic states that you have to flip it over to eat the meat on the other side, am I right? Well, not when you're eating fish in China, especially in southern China and Hong Kong. This is because flipping the fish in Chinese is dao yu, which is a phrase that sounds very similar to bad luck and also something I probably mispronounced. Being a very superstitious culture, Chinese don't want to do anything that would tempt fate. Also, they feel that flipping the fish is like saying the fisherman's boat is gonna flip over as well. So how do you eat the meat on the underside of the fish then? Well, the more superstitious rarely even touch the meat at all, which goes with another strange Chinese food tradition that we're gonna discuss next. That sounds like a waste of perfectly good food, so others simply peel off the fish bone to get to the meat. Our next entry, though, is leftovers are fine. How many times has your mom gone ballistic on you every time you don't finish every single bit of food on your plate? Too many to count on my end, believe you me. If I somehow left a solitary grain of rice on my plate, she would go on a tirade about how lucky we are that we're eating properly. But I bet my mom would have an aneurysm if she ate in China. Because in China, it is perfectly acceptable to leave a bit of food on your plate after eating. In fact, it's considered a compliment. Having leftover food means that the host gave you more than enough food to eat. That begs the question though, does that mean that if you eat all the food on your plate, that means you didn't have enough? Either way. Remember about how some people just left the underside of the fish untouched? This goes hand in hand with that strange tradition as well. Don't be a lefty. Well, I feel called out. That's just downright rude, given that there are a lot of lefties in the world like me. But it seems that being a lefty in some parts of the world is a disadvantage, especially on the dinner table. You see, in the Middle East, India, and certain parts of Africa, using your left hand while eating is considered a very, very big no-no. In fact, in South India, even touching your plate with your left hand is taboo, and it's all because of one reason. Poop. Yes, you heard me right, and I didn't stutter. Poop. Let me explain. You see, in these parts of the world, the left hand is associated with cleaning up after yourself. Can't go into much more detail, PG-13 and all. You know, do a number 2, so they consider the left hand to be very dirty, and it doesn't matter how much Purell you use. Our next entry is standing chopsticks. Eating with chopsticks is equally fun and frustrating, especially while watching someone without the skill nor talent for it to give it a shot. I've eaten a pretty good amount of Chinese food in my life, and every time I do, I have this habit of sticking my chopsticks right in my bowl in between bites. Apparently, that's really a rude thing to do, especially over in Japan. This is because sticking chopsticks upright in a bowl of rice is associated with funerals. In Japanese tradition, a bowl of rice with chopsticks stuck in it is an offering to the deceased and is placed right before his or her coffin. So, where do you put your chopsticks when they aren't in use then? Well, the only acceptable place would be right in front of you, parallel to the edge of the table, and nowhere else. And speaking of strange food practices in Japan, slurp away is our next one. You probably have the relative that has a nasty habit of slurping every bite, and it doesn't have to be soup or pasta. I have a few relatives and friends that make Thanksgiving dinners a gastronomic treat. It's an auditory overload as well, and that's without the usual table small talk. The people sound like they're vacuuming up the food in their mouths instead of biting them, and while I do love them for it, it's still kind of off-putting. In any case, most people would find this rude, but in Japan, it's like sending compliments directly to the chef. Making loud slurping noises while eating noodles is a perfectly normal thing to do when in Japan. While the rest of the world will find this extremely annoying, Japanese culture takes this as a good gesture and as a sign that you're enjoying your food, which is, again, akin to complimenting the chef. Our next entry is a foodie's Russian roulette. Keeping it in Japan, here's a strange food practice that can literally kill you if you're unlucky. It's kind of like playing a game of Russian roulette, only with food, but just as deadly. The dish I'm talking about, of course, is a channel favorite, fugu. Fugu, otherwise known as the pufferfish, is Japan's ultimate delicacy and can be quite expensive. A lot of people swear by this dish. That is, despite the fact that the skin and the insides of the pufferfish contain deadly tetrodotoxin, a poison 1,200 times more powerful than cyanide. Still, going to Japan and not trying this out is a shame if you're brave enough to try it out. Our next entry is the first shall be first. In most cultures, special preference and attention is given to the youngest of the group. In Korea, however, this is not the case, especially on the dining table. In this country, you don't take a single bite unless the eldest on the table has done so already. Eating always follows a pattern from the eldest to the youngest, so in case you're the most junior of the group, you will always be the one to take the first bit last. Never eat with your hands. Some foods are simply better eaten using your hands. I mean, imagine watching a football game and all your friends suddenly use a knife and fork to eat some chicken wings. I mean, it's not incorrect, I guess, but it is wrong and open to ridicule. However, in Chile, apparently, you never use your hands to eat anything. And when I say anything, I mean anything. Wings, burgers, fries, if you gotta eat it, use a knife and a fork. Because in Chile, identifying with formal European dining culture is simply more important than practicality. Now it's time for today's best pick. Today's best pick is a controversial dish primarily served in Asia. Find out what I'm talking about next with shark fin soup. This is a dish that is exactly what it says on the tin. It's made from real shark fin. Now, while this dish isn't exactly that special flavor-wise, it has sparked a lot of controversy and the ire of wildlife conservationists worldwide. You see, whenever a fin is harvested, it's just the fins that are taken. The rest of the shark is considered useless bycatch and is thrown overboard. Not only is this wasteful, but overfishing has wreaked havoc on global shark populations. The dish is still in demand in Asian countries as it is closely related to wealth and status. However, quite a number of countries have already banned the dish in order to save shark populations. Before we move on, do me a favor. My analytics show that only about 15% of you watching are actually subscribed. Come on guys, what's up with that? Can you guys please hit the subscribe button? You guys watch my videos every day anyway, so you might as well subscribe and keep up to date with every video we put out. Our next entry is food that fights back. It is called sanakji, and its dish is made of chopped up live octopus, lightly seasoned in sesame oil. Yum yum, and I mean that in the most sarcastic of ways. Getting your head around eating a wriggling dish is already a mental challenge. Taking a bite is a physical challenge as well. The octopus's wriggling tentacles stick to any surface that they touch. The plate, your fork, the insides of your mouth, and most worryingly, the insides of your throat. Needless to say, sanakji is a choking hazard, and there have actually been people who have died by eating this strange dish. Does your family have a strange food practice? Let us know down below in the comments, will ya? Also make sure to check out the channel's other amazing content. As always, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Later, everybody!